Hey there, Vizzini. This is Inuyasha.
Hey, Inuyasha, this is Steven.
Steven, Vizzini, the short, smart guy from Princess Bride. Why are you Vizzini?
Well, I'm glad you get the reference. I had to look up his name, but this is the guy who's like, inconceivable. The only scene I really remember from that movie is whether or not this cup has iocane powder in it, right?
Yeah.
You would think that. If I thought that, you would think that, etc. And there's a lot of that going on here, so I don't want to go full Mad Eye Moody yet, but this guy came to mind, so.
Good name for this episode. Speaking of, what is it that we're doing here?
It makes sense if you understand decision theory, where you and I discuss Eliezer Yudkowsky and Kelsey Palmer's Glowfic
Pipers.
Did I say Palmer again?
Yes, you did.
Kelsey
Are you listening
Piper.
to Too Rash to Unadvised?
No.
Okay. That's the occasionally thoughtful read-through of Ada Palmer's series.
Kelsey Piper?
Yeah.
Okay, well, great. So, anyway, Kelsey Piper and Eliezer Yudkowsky's Glowfic called Project Lawful.
You can support us on our Patreon, where we kick back 15% to Eliezer and Kelsey Piper as well. And we appreciate all your guys' support, because it feels nice.
Yeah, you guys rock.
Speaking of people rocking, Keiko is now producing weekly HTML files with the reading for the week, so we know exactly where to stop. Wasn't this a note from last week?
It is. I left it in there because I don't know if anyone else had this problem, but I couldn't open the files on my iPhone. Whether or not I opened them from Discord or even downloaded them and tried to open them, it would just try to the best I could do was it would show me the HTML, which was worse than reading the website. So I put together a 10-line Python app that renders these. It's available now, but by the time this comes out, it'll be refined a bit to where it's harder to hit a 404 and shorter URLs. But that said, if you guys go totally hog on this, what am I trying to say? I get charged for use on this app. So if you guys go crazy and DDoS me, I'm shutting it down. But that doesn't mean don't use it. I think you all can use it as much as you want. It'll be fine. Just don't go crazy.
Okay. What's this about Ask Who?
Oh, Ask Who was doing the cool thing. I noticed on the r/rational subreddit, somebody was sharing something with Project Lawful, and I was like, is this our thing, or what is this? No, it was a user called Ask Who, presumably the same Ask Who from our Discord, putting up AI-generated audiobooks, which were really good.
Yeah, he put them in our Discord, too.
Oh, good. Yeah, well, it turns out that after some number of hours, they start charging $20 an hour, and I don't know how many hours this thing would take to read. I'm going to guess hundreds. So That project is over, unless y'all want to get super motivated and coordinate a spreadsheet of everyone making accounts and generating chapters. But just floating that idea. I'm not encouraging you guys to put forth the effort. But anyway, high five to Ask Who. That was fun. I liked listening to him.
Thank you, Ask Who. All right, we have some feedback that we were going to plow through here. First from Shoefish, pointing out that Nethys, the god that was egging on Abadar to drop extra levels on Keltham, Nethys was previously mentioned as the god of magic and knowledge and linked to explosions and insanity. And Captain QWERTY points out that Nethys is true neutral, not chaotic. That makes a lot of sense in my opinion, because again, I don't know if this is still the true with the current generation of D&D, but back in 2nd edition AD&D, true neutral was the alignment of literally crazy people, schizophrenics, those kinds of things. There was often advice that DMs not allow any players to choose true neutral as their alignment unless they are literally playing someone who is out of their mind and crazy. Otherwise, force them to choose some other alignment. So that makes a ton of sense to me.
Is all of the alignment system and all that, is that the same in Pathfinder?
I imagine it's the same as base D&D, but I'm not sure if the 5th edition is that close to what I knew in 2nd edition. It's got to have some similarities, but things evolve over time.
Yeah, they probably didn't change everything too much. The only reason I ask is because I did Google some of the spells, and they're Pathfinder spells, not D&D, as far as at least the first Google results told me. I don't know if there's any important differences. That said, this comes up further down in the feedback here, but I don't know any Pathfinder canon, and I don't understand the alignments. So I don't know if I'm supposed to go do some pre-reading or if it's going to be explained.
I kind of think that just as a nerd, you should know about the alignments anyway, because they show up so often.
I'm aware of the 9, but if someone says that they're chaotic evil, so I'm aware of the names, but Chris is oh, we're evil. And I'm well, you seem nice enough.
Yeah.
What do you call the hordes of baby-eating monsters?
That would be chaotic evil.
Well, isn't that what she is?
She is lawful evil.
So she thought that Keltham was chaotic evil.
I don't think she ever thought that, no.
Didn't he call himself that?
I think he thought that, but I think she's smart enough to know that he's not and is just letting him assume that.
Okay.
Because it's better for him to think he's chaotic evil.
Somehow.
Yes.
I mean, because he's going to go around telling that to people, and someone's going to shoot him because it's the right thing to do.
Maybe.
But
I don't know if it's the right thing to do. It's a thing to do.
I don't know. I don't want to belabor the preamble of the conversation with it, but like, should I Google some personality traits of the different alignments? Because, like, you know, she seems worried about female empowerment, but she also doesn't balk, you know, at barking orders to a slave.
So if you already know the 3x3 chart and have seen various memes of it, then you know enough, I think. The point of this story, I mean, not just this story, but the point of fiction that plays around with these things is to poke past the surface level what evil means and do like the sort of good kind of thing.
If I Google a quick meme, Voldemort from Harry Potter is neutral evil.
Okay.
My impression of Voldemort was that he was a pretty bad dude.
Yes.
Not the kind of person who was like, you know, women don't get paid enough.
Right.
So,
but like Darth Vader is lawful evil, so Darth Vader might think women aren't paid enough.
I suppose, but he also wouldn't flinch at blowing up a planet just to make someone sad.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe Carissa would do that. Who knows?
All right. She seems nicer than Darth Vader to me. That's why I'm confused on this. But
Yeah.
they're also a bunch of lying, conniving Slytherins. So
Exactly.
all right. Well, I'll try not to be as stupid about this as it might seem that I'm being. So let's push through with the feedback.
Okay. Also from Shoefish, I think the connotations of harem in English have changed due to it being a genre in anime, where many women are interested in the male protagonist, using reverse harem to reverse the genders, and the term for harem-ish polyamorous endings in dating sims. This is still not the best of connotations, but pleasanter than the mainstream meaning. I want to argue with Shoefish on this, because I think the mainstream meaning is basically this kind of thing. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just so deep in nerd circles, but harem to me doesn't have any negative connotations because it's just like a whole bunch of people of one sex being interested in just one person of another sex. And yeah, it comes up in anime a lot. I don't think there's anything necessarily bad about it. I don't think of, you know, the Sultan holding a bunch of women slave hostages when I think of harems. I think of anime with people having fun and making jokes and nosebleeds and shit.
I think that the negative connotation I have is that the haremites never seem like people. They're interchangeable, just outlines of people.
Well,
So,
I mean, he's known them for all of an hour, right?
no, I know, but if someone's in your harem, they're not like a person with agency that you care about. They're one of the people you fuck.
No, I strongly disagree. If someone's in my harem, it's because they're a person that I care about and whose emotions I care about.
Okay, well, that doesn't seem to be...
You think that's not the normal term?
I haven't watched a lot of anime, and really none with harems in them, but that's my vague take on it. And it doesn't seem like when Keltham labeled them his haremites that he was deeply invested in their well-being and cared about them as people.
I mean, again, he just met them, but I think he was definitely thinking more in the nice terms. I get the feeling he thinks they're cool people, and certainly wasn't thinking of them as sex slaves.
Oh, good. Yeah, I think sex slaves is probably a bit too far for the average connotation, but yeah. Anyway, you know, some of the things, if there's ambiguity, we can actually just canonically toss it up to like, well, there's translation errors, you know, or translation stuff between baseline and Taldane in English. So if people are quibbling over definitions, I think that's actually like textually supported.
Yeah. And I did get the feeling in the last episode that you were really down on the word harem, but I was like, oh my God, it's late. It's not that big a deal. So I didn't bother going into it. But
yeah, no, I mean,
if Shoefish called it out, I figured might as well mention it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, you know, super down on it. I like it more now that I get where he's coming from and where the story is. So,
okay. Lalathion, I guess, says that the skull comment about such a power move to drink out of the skulls of your enemies, Keltham assumes that you wouldn't permanently kill your enemy to make a drinking vessel out of their skull, and assumes that the existence of resurrection explains that you would simply kill your enemy to get their skull to drink out of, and then resurrect them as a status game. James S.K. concurs, saying Keltham thinks of himself as an edgy, selfish loner, but he's a baby kitten compared to the ruling class of Cheliax. That had not occurred to me, but I think that's a darn good point.
If you're going to behead an enemy and defile their skull for, you know, a dominance move, you would definitely defecate in it, right?
No, because then when I want to drink out of it later, I always think about like, oh God, I pooped in this.
No, you resurrect them. That skull goes back in their head. And even though the shit was magically removed, you'll always know.
So there was some talk in the Discord about what the various resurrection spells are, and at least one of them does not require anything left of the body at all. It just makes them a brand new body.
Oh, that'll come in handy.
Yeah.
All the cool ways that you get killed result in having no body afterwards. So
yeah, because Keltham, I guess, hasn't played role-playing games and doesn't know that for like the lower level resurrect spells, you need the body, and the body comes back. So yeah, he's a sweet, innocent child.
he's some version of both of those things.
Excellent.
I forget who had the suggestion, but I actually saw this in Discord that the info hazard that he winced at might have been like a brutal torture pick.
Yeah.
I forget to give that credit to, and I remembered when I read that I found it plausible, but then I was thinking, well, information hazard isn't really what I'd label a not safe for life image, right?
I agree.
Like a cognitive hazard or something, but I don't know if Keltham makes that fine of distinction or if Taldane does, maybe,
I think I have seen some people use the term info hazard to be, like things that you want brain bleach for afterwards, and I disapprove of that term inflation. Info hazard should be used for stuff that's actually dangerous to know, not just things that you wish you hadn't seen.
Right. Yeah. So without poisoning someone's mind with like a brain filthy hazard, like a classic info hazard that's no longer dangerous is that you can just go to the store and put whatever pills you want in the pill bottles and poison strangers, right? That would have been info hazard 40 years ago.
Right.
But now they've got all the safety seals and stuff, thankfully, so people can't do that.
That was pretty fucked up.
It's just like, here's a thing that's dangerous to people if a lot of people know this.
Yeah.
And, a sad picture is not that.
Right. Or a thing that is dangerous to you just knowing it.
I would ask for an example of that, but I don't want to have you share one.
Exactly.
Well, I'll brainstorm on my own.
Okay.
All right.
Honestly, you probably shouldn't, because then you might run into an info hazard and you'll be like, well, shit, I have now damaged myself and I wish I hadn't done that.
Well, I definitely know things. Oh, okay. I've got some ideas. Oh, I definitely have some ideas then.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Never mind. This is fun. Now people are going to be thinking about this.
People don't try to think up info hazards. There's a reason they're called info hazards.
It's too late. I'm thinking about it. Stupid, sexy Flanders.
All right, there was a ton of Discord talk about what utility functions are and if humans can be said to have them. This is due to when I was kind of freaked out that a god just had his utility function inverted. And you were like, well, that's no big a deal. We can do that with humans. And I was like, can you do that with humans? And I don't know. I'm actually not sure which side of this Keltham is on. As to whether humans can have their utility functions inverted that simply. I think they can't. In all the talking that was happening, there's people asking like, is wanting to eat part of your utility function, or is hunger an input into your utility function? How stable are these utility functions, and how coherent or incoherent are they, and so forth. And I think ultimately I'm with Wes and a few other people too, but that in real life, there's just too many inputs and outputs to model, and it makes much more sense to understand human desire as chaotic and ever-changing and not something that you can formalize in a utility function in a practical real-world sense. But yeah, I guess you could actually think of it that way.
Well, kind of like how, if we had full knowledge of the entire state of the universe, I could determine whether or not you'd pick chocolate or vanilla ice cream,
Yeah.
And so like that, we could calculate, if I knew that, I'd also know I would also know your utility function. But yeah, people, I think that they're chaotic and ever changing, but that doesn't, like, there's a direction of things that they care about, especially individuals, right? So you can say, whatever it is, they're oriented that way, even if they'll misstep or change their mind or whatever. But yeah, I don't think I ever said that humans could have it switched. I just didn't find it surprising that a god, could cast a spell on somebody that would make them suddenly the opposite.
Right. And someone did point out that there's a reverse alignment spell in D&D.
There we go. I guess, this is my fault for not playing D&D, but in my defense, you needed friends to play it, and I didn't have those. So
shit, don't lie.
I definitely didn't have friends that would play D&D as a kid.
Okay, see, that's different. A lot of people didn't have friends that would play D&D.
Well, I guess I'm just trying to imagine, like, whatever, you cast reverse alignment on somebody, and then what, Darth Vader becomes chaotic good?
Probably, yeah.
And so, like, what, he just starts like randomly throwing, stacks of hundreds at people, and like,
yeah, stacks of hundreds that he stole from people that he thinks are bad.
Huh. It'd be so weird to try and roleplay while someone did that to you. And it's like, okay, yes. Well, I had this in mind, and now I'm a totally opposite person.
Right.
What would not me do? Got it.
Yeah, or anti-me.
Yeah, anti-me.
What would Nega Steven do?
So...
And finally, Captain Cordy just wanted to point out that the god truce about Ravagug, the one who eats worlds, is actually Pathfinder canon. So, cool.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's safe to assume that I don't know any Pathfinder canon, and I'm hoping that anything that we're expected to know will be spelled out, and it was in this case. So
yeah,
but I guess it's not clear right off what is an original Kelsey Piper and what's a canonical Pathfinder. But
I wonder if maybe that they decided to write in the Pathfinder universe if they're going to be doing decision theory specifically because of this god truce.
That's a really good speculation. Frankly, there's not a coincidence. I wonder if this is what it's like for people reading Methods of Rationality who didn't read Harry Potter. Like, I guess the canon of Pathfinder is probably much bigger and more nuanced and varied than canonical Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But it's like you're reading Methods and it's like, oh yeah, Quidditch is stupid, but you're not supposed to think that reading the canon, right?
Yeah.
So
or
yeah.
Or if you're reading the HP Memoir and it's this big deal that Voldemort can fly, you're like, well, that's kind of weird, I guess. Why couldn't just all wizards do that? And then if you read canon, you find out that he can fly and that it actually is a big deal.
Yeah. Well, we got nowhere to go here except for, I guess, jumping into the content, huh?
All right. So the content. Wow. Right at the beginning here. I had a Stephen moment, as I will call it, or no, that's not.
This better be flattering.
I did not have a Stephen moment. I take that back. I cringed, and I know there's the rationalist thing where like when you get confused, you're supposed to notice that you are confused because it's really easy to not notice that and just do bad things because of it. So I noticed that I cringed, and then I had to interrogate that cringing in myself. But at the very beginning here, Keltham said that he thinks that he's chaotic evil, and he thinks that he prayed to a chaotic evil god of coordination to get his cleric levels. And he says, I'm not actually sure whether there was a chaotic evil god of coordination in Golarion before I tried praying to it. And that made that was far enough that I even cringed at that. And I was like, oh God, like what is cringing? Cringing is when you see someone assume way too much status than what you think they should assume, and you feel yucky about it, right?
That's at least one of them, but I honestly have no idea what you're putting down here. Like, what was weird about this?
That he is a guy, and apparently, an important guy, but who thinks that in the entire history of the world, he's the first person who prayed to a god, and then that god was created. Like, either this can happen and people already know about it, and you're not the first person to do that, or this can't happen, and the fact that you thought it could and you were the first one to do it is just so dumb.
Oh, the unbelievable hubris of thinking, I thought thoughts so special, I made a god.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, see, I read that sentence, and even despite the following context that totally supports your reading of it and not mine, I thought that he was like, well, I was just shooting in the dark. I didn't know if there would be a god there, but I tried anyway. That's more like, I threw a shot in the dark and it landed. I wasn't that lucky. Not the idea of like, I may have created it just by being so thoughtful.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you think that when he's saying, I am not sure if there was a chaotic evil god of coordination, you think that he means, obviously there always was one, but it wasn't present in Golarion because no one knew about it. It had never been prayed to until I did this thing.
Right. Or it might be that everyone else knew about it. In fact, Abaddon is a popular god, right? Abadar. But yeah. I don't think Keltham knew that's who he was talking to. So
yeah. It's kind of like Otolemans, which apparently a lot of people did not know existed until, a priest showed up and was like, hey, looks like there's this god of the world not being blown up.
It just occurred to me, because that's the same one that's no one's listening to their concerns.
Yes.
Because you reminded me that's the one they mentioned at the end of the last episode. And it's like, oh, that's disappointingly very apt analogy to our world. No one's listening to the person who's like, this is going to kill us. Please, let's not destroy the world. I don't know if Keltham was saying I made that god or if I lucked out, but Carissa seems to think that it was the latter. She says, well, I mean, if you can create gods by praying to them, that seems like kind of important, and we should change our to-dos a bit.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny, but I don't know if that was them talking past each other or her running with a joke or whatever.
I felt bad about my cringing, though. I don't like cringing. I don't like, trying to status police people. If he's wrong about something, he's just wrong about it, right?
Yeah, but you can be wrong in a way that is more egregious than just mistaken.
Yeah.
Like
I hate that. I hate that feeling exists in humanity. It feels almost as bad as envy in terms of horrible things we should get rid of.
I agree.
Or not envy, sorry, jealousy. I know that the popular terms are flipped, but traditionally jealousy.
Right. I was going to ask what the difference was, but
okay.
So I know this, and I feel dumb that I have to ask, but
envy is when you want something that someone else has.
Oh, and jealousy is just mad that they have it because they don't deserve
jealousy,
it.
Exactly. Jealousy is you want them to not have something that they do have. And it's kind of changed over the years where people now just say jealousy to mean what envy used to mean, that they want something someone else has. And that's not jealousy, that's envy. Gotcha. Jealousy is when you want to destroy stuff someone else has because you don't want them to have it.
Gotcha. Envy is the mortal sin of coveting.
Yeah. That's why God is a jealous God, and that's okay because he wants other gods to not have worship.
Right.
He wants all the worship to himself.
He's not envious. He's jealous.
Yes.
Yeah. See, now I get to talk down from my high horse and say that basically, though, like I understand those feelings, but I almost never feel them. I genuinely feel like I think it's hard, I don't know if this is the right name for it or not, but I think it's close to reciprocal joy.
Yeah.
Like if somebody is like, oh my God,
compersion.
What was that?
Compersion is the term used in poly circles for when you are happy for your partner being happy.
Oh, I've heard that. And it was in something making fun of like all the lingo surrounding polyamory. I think it might have been the Very Bad Wizards a couple years ago or something. But
those sons of bitches.
If someone's crushing it, and it's like part of me would be like, man, I would love to be as smart as you. But, I'm like, I'm just stoked for you. That's great. Everything's coming up Millhouse. Congratulations. Yeah, that's good. I had my coming to Jesus moment with Keltham last week where I realized that I was judging him way too harshly. So going into him fresh this week, since you helped lift the judgment from my eyes, I'm enjoying like a lot of his stuff. He said, yeah, I'm not going to do anything more in that department until I understand things a little better. I mean, I'm not usually a fan of slowing down and doing all the paperwork, but I'll make an exception for this case. He's like, okay, I realize something super important just happened. Well, I'm not usually a fan of taking it easy. This once I can see the wisdom in it. I can see the hint of a smile there.
Yeah, I've got gods doing weird things to me and the world. Maybe slow down just a little. Yeah,
whoops. I became a high-level cleric overnight, kind of on accident. So maybe before I keep fucking around, I should maybe, I don't know, learn. I should be here for more than 12 hours,
Yeah.
Learn just the very basics.
Mm-hmm.
Solid. Oh, man, he gets to learn the basics in this one. It's great.
He does. He gets to learn that the words chaotic and evil probably don't mean what he has been led to believe they mean, which is why he thought he was chaotic evil. He asks, how sure are you that there isn't an existing chaotic evil god of people having the extra properties and desires they need in order for lots of individuals to all get the things they want as selfish individuals without it taking a huge amount of effort and enforcement for them to successfully execute multiplayer strategies?
That's 3 syllables in baseline.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, it's only 2 syllables in English because in English it's ethics. I literally believe that this is the definition of ethics, giving people the properties and desires they need in order for people to selfishly be able to get along and have mutually successful multiplayer strategies. So he basically just asks, is there a chaotic evil god of ethics? Which is great. And I don't think there is. And it shows a lot how these two societies are going to be clashing.
I like your read on that. And I think you're probably right. But another thing that jumps to mind that checks that box for me is law.
Law also does that, yeah.
Like it's a coordination thing where it's like, so my desire is I don't want to go to jail. So I'm not going to do the thing where I break the law and, selfishly come out ahead because I don't want to go to jail.
Yeah, I think the difference is that ethics works directly on desires. They make you want what is good to coordinate with other people, right? Like you don't need a law telling you not to I was going to say not to hurt someone you love, although a lot of people do, but those people are bad people, right? And so good people don't desire to hurt people they love, and that is literally the point. It is the crafting of desires, so that you don't need laws. People already want to do the good things.
That makes sense. I can dig it.
Yeah. Laws are for the people who don't have the desires that we want them to have. Keltham also...
I was nodding, and then I realized how useless of a gesture that was. Just
Cool. Thank you for nodding more verbally.
Right.
Keltham also, as he's figuring out what these words mean, says, I don't see how revenge fits in as chaotic. And I like that too, because revenge is an enforcement mechanism, and therefore it's part of the great coordination algorithm in Keltham's map. Whereas in the Galarian map, it's what you do if you're pissed off at someone and doing what your emotions say to do. And, doing what your emotions say is the chaotic thing to do, which is why revenge is chaotic.
Well, in their terms. So I mean,
Yes.
what would Kelthian revenge look like? I guess not honoring a deal that you made with someone after they, ruined a deal that you made with them previously.
Yeah, revenge in the Kelthian worldview is imposing costs on someone who has not defaulted, prisoner's dilemma term, defected.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I like this, and I also, maybe this is just how Yudkowsky's brain works, but I really love all of his framing in things in terms of things being expensive. And it's not necessarily like, money, like, because that's actually a really valuable way to think about things. Like, to me, it's unusual, but I think it's actually really accurate. If if I wanted to help the Ukrainians in the current war effort, right, by going there personally, it probably wouldn't cost me that much money, but it would be very expensive in terms of everything else.
Yeah.
And so I like that framing device. I'm going to see if I can keep that in mind and see if that pays out for me.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It is a good way to look at things.
I think so. It seems cool. I also just want to point out again that, like, Keltham maybe should have spent more than 5 minutes trying to figure out what the alignments and their implications were before becoming a cleric.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I'm sure he's, the god that he's a cleric of is the right god for him, whatever labels aside. Just because, he didn't say, here's my alignment, can I have a god, please? He just thought at the right direction.
Yeah.
So it did actually line up with him, but it's like, before you start running around telling people, yeah, I'm one of those baby eating psychopaths, you should probably figure out what they mean by those terms.
Yeah. Maybe baby eating means something. Yes. We would like to know too.
Chaotic good. All right. I know I've seen these memes and stuff, but I'll have to just noodle it and see what this looks like in real life, or in fiction life.
Yeah, I don't think it transfers very well to real life, honestly.
No, people don't have alignments that simple.
Yeah.
All right.
It's more of a tool to, play a character in a game well. So you have an archetype that you can always go back to.
Yeah. I'll quit harping on it, but I feel like he should have thought about it a little longer. That way I wouldn't feel so lost. But I think that actually might be some of the point, because they deceived him.
Yes, they did.
Because she's evil, despite being so nice.
You can do both.
As long as I'm talking about Carissa, like how on the pictures it says, person name, and then the author in the third box. What's that second box mean?
Just a tagline for the character, like a, I don't know, motto or something memorable about them.
Yeah, Keltham's is lawful chaotic, and hers is to let you in. And I have no idea what the hell that means. But
I'm sure it's a song lyric that, if we knew it, would be very appropriate.
That scans. I like how Autolemans is they never listen.
That is great. Okay, they are weapon goals. Oh, okay. About prayer. So I still had some residual cringe from the very beginning when I thought that Keltham thought he had created a god. And so Carissa is telling him how to pray, and she says, think about how you are blessed with the power to serve them on Galarian. And Keltham says, okay, I guess I should think about our overlapping goals and mutual benefit. And I guess that sort of inflamed cringe part of my psyche just throbbed a little bit again by reading that. As in, you're trying to think of overlapping goals and mutual benefit with a fucking god. And in large part, I was also still like sort of in rapturous awe of Carussa's awesome prayer, and like, I want to be your vessel on this earth, and it triggered all those things in me, and I regret it now. So I pulled this out again and was trying to think again, trying to lean into that feeling. Why am I feeling this? Please help me stop, Lord Jesus, in your mercy or whatever, and guide me to the path away from the cringe. And I was thinking, it's like when, as an atheist, I have been told, you just need to get on your knees and say this prayer and accept Jesus into your heart, and then you will have proof that Jesus exists. And boy, that's infuriating. And like, the best case scenario I could possibly think of something like that happening is me reframing it as something that isn't ridiculous and degrading, and that would make some sense in the material world. And that is what Keltham's doing. It's like, okay, so instead of like rubbing my face in the dirt like a worm, how would I talk to my God if this God also had my ideals? That'd be like, okay, overlapping goals and mutual benefit. And so I just had to remind myself that is he comes from a world where gods do not exist, and if they did, then they would be sane and cool, as opposed to I'm literally thinking about Satan and Yahweh here, especially seeing as Asmodeus's symbol is a pentagram or an upside down star or something.
Yeah, I know what you mean, I think. And it's funny because like on the read of like Keltham being super arrogant, him saying, "Oh, I'll think about our overlapping goals and mutual benefit." And it's like, what does an ant have to offer me?
Yeah.
Right? I guess we both care about the earth not being destroyed, but that's about it. Yeah. And so like, what do you think you're going to think about, our mutual goals? Ant, don't be so full of yourself. But right. That said, he didn't even really ask that hard the night before, and they gave him several cleric levels. So it's working out for him. And that's where, I don't feel so bad about him doing this, because it's like, he just got magic powers the last time he did this, like kind of not on purpose. And he's like, how do I do this with a more direction? And and so it's like, okay, well, I'll go think about it and then ask my God just to give me the coolest spells I think I need today.
Right.
And I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah. And his God totally would be a reasonable, cool person like that. Like, the Big Lebowski isn't going to have a God that demands him to scrape and grovel. So Keltham obviously wouldn't either.
I like that, because you're right. And that's something, I guess, to keep in mind. And this is like obvious, but I guess, in the background of all this, like, he really did pick his, right?
Yeah.
And it not on purpose, because he liked, he read about him in a book and was like, I want this one, right? Mm-hmm. He picked him by saying, this is really who I am. And someone's like, ooh, dibs.
Yeah.
So like, they're going to align very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's one of those things where any God worth worshiping would be one that doesn't want that sort of stuff and would actually think about mutual benefit stuff instead.
I mean, I agree, but there seems to be lots of gods here, and worth worshiping, like an actual Pascal's wager math does seem to come into play here.
That's a good point.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of, like, the list of how fucked up things here is very long. And
they really got to get on their whole killing all the gods project already.
Maybe after they invent some decent metallurgy or something, right? Not like that'll help, but just as a baseline project. Mm-hmm. Invent a spell for summon spell silver or whatever that stuff was to make enchanted items.
Yeah. Keltham is thinking about his common interest with his god and his plans to negotiate equity arrangements with Asmodeus or his representatives, and being a general outsider to this entire place and having no idea what's going on. And this reminded me of a conversation in the Discord where people were saying that, what do you call a trope in the real world? A custom?
I call them tropes, but part of me lives like Abed, so...
Okay, yeah. Well then a standard trope / custom in the real world is you cut foreigners a lot of slack because they don't know your ways, and when you're in a foreign country, you also do a lot to try to not offend people because customs are weird and different. And I think if Dathalan does in fact only have a single world government, which seems to be more and more the cases we're reading, like they call their government governance with a capital G. Obviously, if you only have one government, you don't need to break them out by different countries. It's just the government. If they do in fact only have a single world government, and it seems a lot like they only have one basic culture, then this would make anyone that's been isekai'd from Dathalan uniquely fucked when interacting with foreign cultures. Because on their planet, they don't have foreign cultures and they don't have experience with foreigners. Like, they don't even have a bizarre past to be shocked by. Like, if we're really wanting to see how fucked up things were and we didn't have other countries to look at, we could just look into our own past and be like, oh my God, we used to burn witches and bags of cats and we believed this bizarre what the fuck, man?
Yeah, going to the town square hanging was just like a Friday afternoon thing you did because there's nothing on TV. So
yeah, he has nothing to compare like that. So no wonder he's constantly just like, I guess, assuming that people are sane and rational and cultures can't be all that different because obviously they must be somewhat coherent and logical, right? And like, no, they don't. And no one from Datalan has any ability to know this because they haven't experienced anything like it, except possibly the keepers. Like, these people are little babies when it comes to foreign culture. They don't even know what they might not know.
It's true. I think that's a valid concern. I think just to point out, though, I think he's doing pretty well.
He is doing decently, considering what I just thought.
Exactly, considering. But, why isn't he doing a bit better? Well, because of all of what you just said, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of, you mentioned that you like one of real life's tropes or whatever that happens once, commonly is we give foreigners to cut them slack, or like, first generation immigrants, we cut them slack for not knowing the customs or whatever, right? I just need to point out that you wrote a really cool blog post about this that I hadn't actually heard that point made that way, the argument that you made.
Oh, well, thank you.
And it was, I was like, oh, that's fucking genius. And then you mentioned how, you've seen this used on purpose, and like, that is actually outstanding. Not somewhat related is just to tease people about why they should read this post on deathisbad.substack.com. But like, my great grandpa, his hearing was pretty bad. But when he was done participating, he would just act like it didn't work at all. Oh, cool. Yep. Sorry. What? No, I can't hear you. And it's just like that. That's kind of just like a whatever. I'm 90 years old. I don't want to deal with your shit kind of thing.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
That's cute.
I imagine just like somebody like just making eye contact to somebody they're talking with and taking out the hearing aids.
Nice.
I'm putting an end to this conversation.
Yep. You can keep talking, but it won't matter.
That's right.
I think I'm just going to skip this next one.
All right. Well, we've got so he's praying, and then we get like a cutaway to the gods chatting about it, and it's great. Their banter makes me find them kind of too relatable for them to be like these bizarre, alien, incomprehensible, galaxy-brained behemoths.
Yes, this reminds me of Yudkowsky banter. It's great. Right.
They seem like, nerds goofing around and having like just fun arguments, right? They do not seem like Uriel from what was Alexander's story? Unsong, right. His brain at least seemed confusing.
Yeah.
They're just like, they're just messing around. It seems it's great. Atalamans is like, everyone shut the hell up and just chill out for a second. And everyone else is like, nah.
Abadar's like, hey, let me talk with the guy. We're both lawful neutral. And Atalamans is like, fuck you in particular. You dropped 7 cleric levels on him when I turned around.
I love it.
It was great. And then Asmodeus comes in with like, yeah, that was super irresponsible, dude. I think the weird squirrel should be constrained to only talking to other squirrels and not talking to gods. Not until we have more information, at least. And, Asmodeus totally doing the devil thing because he knows he's right in the middle of Cheliax, and he has complete access to him through his humans, but no one else does. And this is going to be a fun god. He's just like, yeah, no, I'm just being reasonable, right? Just look at the contracts. This is the best thing to do. He literally reminds me of my favorite version of the devil, where he's just kind of like pointing things out and being like, hey, this is just reasonable. Yeah, you can do this if you want. You don't have to, but this seems like a cool idea. And then people are like, oh yeah, that is a cool idea, and then fuck themselves over.
Right. It like the real temptation from the devil isn't like, here, I'll give you a bag of gold if you let me kill your family, right? It's like, look, if you press this button, a stranger, 1 in a billion stranger dies, and you get $10,000. Like, that's much more like easy bargain for them to make. And like that's also a bad example, but it's just like, tempting them with like things that are actually super reasonable. Yeah, it's great. But then Atolement remembers the last 517 times she interacted with Asmodeus. And Nethys thinks this arrangement is a terrible idea. Why must Atolemans and Asmodeus torment Nethys so? And Atolemans continues not to understand what the reverse of what is the reverse of a psychology.
That was great. Atolemans does kind of remind me of Uriel in this way.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's just like the only person trying to be sensible.
Yeah. Abadar does notice what Asmodeus is doing here, and he wonders, like, is no one else bothered how often, whenever we have these divine negotiations, we just do nothing? We take the null action? Because honestly, we should be able to collectively do better than that. And no, they just have a vetocracy too, it seems like. And looks like even the civilizations of the gods are inadequate with a capital I, which, man that sucks.
I mean, they're adequately not destroying the world.
That's true.
I think,
but you'd think they could do better.
I think, yeah, it'd be nice if they could, right? Certainly Apodar and Asmodean.
Oh, you know what? I'm not sure where the emphasis is in that word.
I was trying to do the last letter. It's Asmodeus, not Asmodean. But
okay.
The followers are whatever, Asmodean Church or something. But in any case, Atolemans points out that, like, no, there's nothing wrong with doing nothing. Nothing is relatively less likely to destroy all of reality. Like, if that's all you care about, and it does seem like they're, at least Atolemans is utility function, such as it is, I can kind of model pretty well.
Yeah.
It's like, look, can we just not destroy the world? And it's like, what if, no, not what if that. Let's just, like, things aren't exploding now. Let's keep them not exploding. That seems to be Atolemans' baseline.
It depends on how close the world is to exploding.
Right. I suppose when things start to explode, maybe Atolemans will say, okay, now do stuff.
Yeah. Like, I would agree with the Atolemans in that case. But, like, if someone is just inventing the water wheel, I'm going to be like, you know what? Maybe invent the water wheel. The world isn't that close to exploding yet.
Right. It's not too far down that slippery slope to nukes.
Yes.
Yeah. I like how the exchange between it's still just something I'm kind of starting to revel in with how this medium of writing is done. But like Yudkowsky gets to prompt Kelsey with, like, I think the line is still no divine reply. Darn it. But Keltham does think he has some more spells. And, like, that's it. End of post.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's fun because these are time stamped. And so either, Kelsey was busy or did some actual, like, careful homework to try and figure out, like, what could Yudkowsky abuse with all these spells. But fully, like, 2 days later, comes back with a list of spells that Keltham has.
Oh, nice.
And so, like, it's kind of fun because it's like improv.
Mm.
And so I did Google some of these spells because I figured, I'm not Googling, like, how does he use them? It's not spoiler stuff. Some people are allowed to know this because they played games, but I'll go through a couple of them.
Okay.
I think Eagle's Splendor, that was like the social perks increase one.
Mm-hmm. Charisma, right?
Yeah. And then Vision of Hell. You overlay a realistic illusion of a terrifying hellscape upon an area. Structures, equipment, and creatures within the area are not hidden, though environmental features take on an infernal appearance.
Huh.
It's like the Upside Down in Stranger Things.
Oh, yeah.
But just like, this is something that they just threw at this kid. It's like, holy shit. Let me distract you guys all with this terrifying hellscape.
Yeah.
It's nuts. It's awesome.
That's interesting. I looked up a few of the spells. I didn't look up that one.
It sounded cool.
Yeah.
And some of the other ones I can kind of guess. Truth telling, sanctuary, aura sight, invisibility purge. I need to look up glimpse of truth. That sounds fun.
I looked up sanctuary, and I really wish that we'd gotten, like, the actual text of the spells, because he says, like, oh, this one looks pretty cool. What did he say? Sanctuary is unambiguously a huge fucking warning, but, like, we don't hear what he sees when he's looking up these spells in the books. And when I looked up sanctuary, it said any character that's attacking you has to do a roll a wisdom check, or they have to attack someone else. And, like, in the spell that he's reading, does it say wisdom check? On the ones that give you bonuses to doing a skill, does it say D4 bonus to the skill? Or does it say, like, whatever you try to do becomes between 5 and 20% more likely to succeed? Like, I really wanted to know what the wording was, because that would have been extremely revealing info about the world and how it works. And I assume that's why we don't have it, because they don't want to give us that info yet.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, we'll have to see how these things shake out. They're keeping us guessing. I like when he gets back in and he's talking with Carissa about it. He's being dodgy. He's doing that unimaginable thing where you're constrained or restricting information that you're giving. Or how did he put it in the first chapter or the first reading? Something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Are they not being forthcoming? Are they being deliberately like trying to tell me half truths? But he just says, well, the most complicated I spell is more complicated than that. The most complicated one he has. I'm not sure what that was, but he's saying basically, yeah, I've got one that's a bit more complicated than whatever you're talking about, but not a lot. And then he says, thinks, Taldane is a great language to speak instead of baseline if you don't want your words to narrow down possible realities.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just lying with a nice coat of paint on it, right?
I don't know. It's not lying. Technically, what he said is true. It just didn't narrow down the possible realities very much.
You're right. Lying would be narrowing it down to very plausibly realities that aren't accurate. But this is dodgy in a way that, like, if you're trying to go into
genie talk.
It's genie talk, exactly. If you're trying to go into a courthouse or somewhere where they have security and they're like, do you have any knives or weapons on you? Well, no. And it's like in your mind, you're like, well, I don't see that. My pocket knife isn't a weapon. I use it, to clean my fingernails. But it's like it's dodgy with the intent of leaving you options open, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That said, he needs to get good at that shit real fast because these people are all out to screw him. It seems like.
Oh yes, it looks like he's learning pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's weird because they're not quite out to screw him in the way that, like, the Joker would screw them over. It's like they're prepared to coordinate with him. It seems like, unless they're all lying about how contracts work and stuff. Which I'm going to go ahead and assign that like a 30% probability. Well, no, they've got their shit together too well for like them to be complete psychopaths all the time.
Because complete psychopaths are like chaotic evil, whereas they're lawful evil. They're there to screw him like a genie would or a lawyer would, whereas the Joker's like chaotic. Joker's chaotic evil.
Shots fired at lawyers. Yeah, I think you're right. It's
they literally both come from the root word law, lawyer and lawful.
Oh man, it's all coming together now. So let's see.
Yes, Carissa, when she finds out that he has leveled up at least 5 times, we know it's more than that, but she says, wow, that is so expensive to the gods. It typically doesn't happen unless it like turned the tide of wars or something. And I was like, oh wow, like that's really huge. So that greatly rubbed a lot of healing balm on the inflamed cringe part of my psyche. When I was like, yeah, he's not just full of himself. A major god agrees that he's as important as turning the tide of wars. So that's pretty cool. And after this, I was able to much more ease into it again, into the story. Because I don't know, like I didn't have my cringe hackles raised.
Oh, I see.
I really hated that happened.
Grok, yeah, what happened earlier?
Yeah,
gotcha. Yeah, Oh, sorry.
Oh, it can ruin a whole story when you're cringing at something.
Well,
terrible.
If you hate the character, honestly, I was really put out for the first couple of weeks reading this because I kind of hated Keltham. Yeah, and it's one thing to like think, oh man, I hope this character has growth and whatever. But it's like, even if this, like my reading of him originally was like, even if he becomes the best version of himself, he's gonna suck. He's just going to be better at it. But that's now I think I'm getting him better. So it's like I enjoy him and I want him to win. But what's fun about the cleric levels and her phrasing that it's expensive to give somebody a quick 5 levels or whatever. It didn't seem like it cost Abaddon. Did I mess it up again?
Abadar.
I'm gonna just try my best. I knew it was wrong. All right. It didn't seem like it cost Abadar anything. All it took was a nudge. Like, you should do 7. Okay.
Well, because Nethys said, I'll reimburse you for all the extra expense.
Oh, that's right. So Nethys must be chaotic neutral, right?
True neutral. Which is the most chaotic alignment anyway, right? Because it's the crazy people alignment.
Okay, gotcha. So I guess it's not clear to me what costs they could have. Anything I could give to an ant would not cost me that much. Even if anything I could give to a squirrel. It's like, unless I'm going to get you like the most expensive organic almonds I can find. Like, so I find that curious. It's not like I'm calling it out as something, whatever, poorly written or confusing or anything. It's more just like, I'm intrigued as what costs can mean for gods.
If I was doing it in human analogies, if you wanted to level up an ant into like a Rottweiler, that'd probably be some really expensive biotech.
That's a good point. Okay. I like the analogy. And, since I don't own a biotech machine, I have to borrow one, and that's where the expense comes in.
Right.
Yeah, so that's where I had to borrow money from Nethys, who is going to be a really weird debtor to have. So he's going to be the kind of person where it's like, can I borrow $20? Sure, I'll pay back next week. And they bring you like a sock full of pennies. And it's like, here's your $20 back.
Maybe he just repaid him immediately. Maybe Abadar was like, give me the cash right now.
Right. I don't want you to go into the bank to make change. He notices that he's got some defensive spells and some truth-telling spells. And he's like, okay, well, I asked my god to give me the best ones they could think of. So if they think that I need all these deception handling spells, that seems like a red flag. He has the thought, but he doesn't want to just ignore the security flag. People who just ignore security flags are for children's books, not grown-up books.
Yeah.
And I just put rational fiction. Like, yes, that's exactly what we don't want in our smart characters.
No idiot ball handling over here.
Oh, comprehend languages was another spell. He says, Keltham will see if he runs into anybody important who doesn't speak Taldane later today. If not, it could be a hint that he should find somebody who doesn't speak Taldane, or a hint not to rely on Carissa's share language.
Yes.
So what's fun is he's trying to guess, like, why did my god give me these?
Yeah.
And he seems to be coming under the preconception, I don't know, maybe he was told that gods are super, super smart. And to
yes,
him,
he was.
He was, but I guess maybe to him that is equivalent with really good at not predicting the future, but having accurate predictions.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Well, I mean, there's other kinds of smart, and I think that he might be putting too much credit into it because he doesn't consider the possibility that his god might not be that good at predicting stuff.
As long as it's a lawful god and really super smart, I would imagine it's pretty good at predicting things. Really, anything really much smarter, I think, would be pretty good at predicting things.
Oh, man, there was a movie, Paycheck, with Ben Affleck. Came out like 20 years ago.
All right.
And he works jobs and they wipe his memory afterwards because they're super secret. Like he gets, like when you check out of prison and you get your bag full of stuff you walked in with.
Mm-hmm.
And so he gets his stuff after the job and it's like not his stuff. It's like a ball bearing and, other random shit, like a cigarette lighter.
And he has to figure out what all this means?
Right. He left it to himself.
Ah.
And, with foresight of the future. And so he's like, oh, that's what the ball bearing was for. And I can't remember if that's an actual example, but it was stuff like that. And
is this a good movie? Because that sounds pretty cool.
I liked it when I saw it in the early 2000s. I'm sure it's fine. I have a good memory of it, but I think that's what Keltham is doing here. He just knows that the person who left him this stuff is smart.
Well, I mean, I remember yeah, exactly. Which that is huge.
Man, that'd be so disconcerting. You
yes.
get a message from Omega of like you should bring a bulletproof vest, or you should invest in a bulletproof vest. And it's like, the hell? Jesus, what's about to happen?
Oh man.
What were you gonna say?
Paycheck sounds like a really cool premise, but you can't always everything's about execution, right? Like Next has the most awesome premise in the world where Nick Cage can see 2 seconds into the future, or no, 2 minutes into the future all the time, but it just sucks. It's a bad movie.
It's a bad movie that is made up for with a good premise and Nicolas Cage. But if you're looking for like a really cool use of that amazing ability, look elsewhere.
Exactly.
Or like a really good story put together with that premise, look elsewhere. But yeah, Nick Cage and get a cool example of a seemingly weak superpower. It's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, it's an awesome superpower.
Right,
I mean, depending what you're doing.
All right, so Keltham will follow where she leads. They're going to the library, I think, with slightly more alertness than usual in case Carissa works for the criminal mastermind who is about to stage Keltham's kidnapping. And I'm just rubbing my hands together. I'm like, now we're talking. This has a very like Harry James Potter Evans Varys vibe.
Yes.
Maybe you're in on it too.
Yes. Starting to work the subterfuge.
Yes, and the paranoia. Watching him go full paranoid with like all the intelligence augmentation shit he can get his hand on is going to be awesome.
Oh, hell yeah. Keltham's security guard gives him a few tips about what is going to happen and what to do if bad shit goes down. For starters, Keltham tells the security guard, like, if you need me to get down, yell, get down. Because if you yell something like gun or fireball, I may not know that means I'm supposed to get down. The security guard tells him that he can bond with Keltham and 2 other people telepathically for 2 hours, which I think might become important in the future, which is why I'm pulling it out right here. And also he tells him that if there's anything that unambiguously is a sign of trouble, I will likely grab you and teleport you out to safety. So I have that to look forward to, or how it's fucked with.
It would sure be nice if you could like trust a security detail.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I mean, I'm willing to bet they're 100% in on like the let's spy on this dude game. You know?
Oh yeah, totally.
So it's like, yeah, we'll teleport you to safety. Oh, whoops, the teleportation spell, it misfired. We ended up, in this enemy prison cell. I'll go get help.
Try not to get tortured too much.
Right. But he didn't clarify with the telepathy if it's an every thought kind of thing where, you don't lose your sanity because of magic, or if it's you have to think at the telepathy channel to cast a thought.
Oh, see, I assumed it was basically like a walkie-talkie in your mind kind of thing.
That's what I was thinking too, but it seems like a distinction worth making.
That's true.
Because if it's like, no, if we're just going to plug into each other and share, again, without going crazy because of magic help, basically share our thoughts for 2 hours. It's like, well, I don't want you guys reading my thoughts. Well, of course, they're already doing that. And he doesn't know that yet. He's going to be pissed.
It's going to be pretty awesome.
I think he's going to be, I think he'll understand, but he's going to be like, that's kind of an imposition on my privacy.
Definitely.
While they're talking over the security stuff, he just says question mark. and I like that because it mistranslates what was supposed to be a shorter speech act.
Yeah.
And I think I've definitely said question mark in real life. Like but it's always like, as a kind of like, to be funny, but also like, hold on, question, clarify that. But I like that. We should make that a thing that we're, with that plus the hear from there gesture. Let's start importing some of these things.
I think Eliezer's plan is starting to work.
Oh man, it's like this was on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Keltham goes about and starts figuring out some of the spells he has and how they work, and they do that for a while.
Yeah, he has this line when he's talking with Carissa about yes, understood. Not destroying the world is everybody's problem, and he says it like it's just the most obvious thing in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just like, God, I wish that was as clearly obvious to everyone on Earth.
Like, I think it's.
He says it like, yeah, of course, no, that's everyone. That should be everyone's concern.
Yeah,
but most people don't think that way. I don't think that they think like, oh, I can destroy the world, it'll be fine. But they're like, it's not. What are the risks? It's fine. Let's not worry about it.
Well,
that's someone else's problem.
I don't know. I think most people just think that it isn't a risk. And if they did, they would agree that it's everyone's problem.
Yeah, I guess I suppose I wish that people had a bar for what they considered risks. Like, well, when they were testing the first nuclear bombs, they weren't sure it wasn't going to ignite the atmosphere. Yeah,
but they did a lot of like theory and testing about it before they went ahead and pulled the trigger.
Yeah, I know. It just seems like the kind of thing that like I was going to say they should have stopped and asked themselves, like, is this really worth even doing? Maybe these are some gates that shouldn't be opened, but the enemy was trying to. So yeah, the enemy was going to beat them if they didn't do it.
They were really, really sure it wasn't actually going to ignite the atmosphere.
No, it would just give, it would just percolate into technology that can totally kill everybody. But in their defense, the enemy was working on it. And if the Nazis had them before we did, things would have been way shittier. So, all right. It's a drag.
Yeah.
Yep.
He does also ask, he says, I should take a look at whatever your local heritage optimization setup is. And I laughed at that because I don't think they have a heritage optimization setup. Or maybe they do. They are lawful evil. They might have a eugenics program going.
I mean, they didn't sound, you mean, I guess the planet as a whole, a lot of it is just like, nah, man, we just fuck. Yeah. And, if I'm one of the women who's not lucky enough to live in one of the 6 countries that gives women any rights, then I'm just, I'm the property of whatever guy marries me, or rather that I'm married to. I just like how heritage optimization is a nice euphemism for eugenics.
Yeah.
And honestly, when we're pitching it to the world, that's how we should sell it. Or
I don't think the world will, well, no, never mind. I was going to say I don't think the world will be fooled, but the world's pretty fucking stupid.
Well, and some things are just like, the word has too much baggage, but the idea makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Again, you're right. Eugenics is a great example of that.
Yeah, I'm going to call it heritage optimization from now on.
Yeah. It's like you don't want, that's why you don't get thoroughly thoroughbred dogs. You get, a sad dog with hip dysplasia, right?
Yeah.
You want heritage optimization. You got to mix some stuff in there.
Yeah. Keltham is talking about his research harem with Carissa, and he says, for my research hair group, my research group. which made me laugh. And also, then he thinks in his head when they're pitched as possible entertainment, he's like, "Ha, nice try, you blatant sperm harvesters."
It is funny. Now that I get where he's coming from, that's hilarious. Smooth save, bro. I also like how this isn't in any of our notes, but he mentions breakfast like 7 times. I didn't count. I should probably just do a control F, but
That's true.
But it's just how people work too. Or at least I totally identified with that because I do the same thing, especially like with lunch. Because breakfast I have first thing before I really start my day. But lunch, it's like, oh yeah, and lunch. And then, I keep, next thing, 2:00. Oh, I should eat. And he's just like, no, I really need to do this before like my day turns to shit. And it's just like the constant pull of his attention on hunger. It was very like, I totally got it.
Yeah. It was a nice touch. And he did actually get breakfast at one point, I think, right?
Yep. I think it was unremarkable. So fair enough. Oh, the word breakfast is in this reading 14 times.
Damn.
Awesome.
So talking about this whole, when he's talking about Carissa with the harem research group and the entertainment and the kids and all that, Carissa, it got kind of real around here. Just before it hits the real part, Carissa says, yeah, you said that you wanted a lot of children, so they were kind of trying to give you that because you did say you wanted. She says, if that's not how Dathalani have children, and instead you do some very enlightened thing that happens entirely over carrier pigeon correspondence, my apologies. And I thought that was, just a funny thing for her to say, but also the way she very nonchalantly implied that their society doesn't give a shit what these students wanted in regards to whose children they will bear. Like some people in power just came in, said, hey, students, this guy might want kids. Go over there and you might get pregnant. That part, it doesn't surprise me so much, but the part that Carissa just mentions that, like, it's not a big deal, like, that's just how things work. She doesn't even consider that someone might think it's fucked up that these women have no choice in the matter at all. That's what really got me.
Yeah, but now I'm just falling back on whenever I'm confused by her behavior like that, I'm like, well, she's evil. What do you expect?
I guess so, yeah. I think I was also feeling the thing where I was surprised by that level of evil.
Yeah, it's just a drag.
I was actually legit a little bit surprised that when Keltham says, I should probably have more than 144 kids, with many different, otherwise unrelated smart women spread out all over the world. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, so he actually is just talking about straight up sperm donation here. I had still been kind of joking around with many women that he's sleeping with, but he's literally just negotiating a price per sample. Okay, I don't know why I was still thinking that wasn't the case.
Sperm banking sounds like a good plan, but he's getting comfortable with his paranoia with stuff now, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't trust what they'll do if they have his sperm in a cup somewhere. The only sensible thing for him to do here is, to do insemination the old-fashioned way just to be safe.
What do you think they would do with the sperm in a cup?
Well, who knows? They're creative, evil people. I'm just saying, just to play it safe, he should make sure it ends up where it's supposed to go, and put in the hard work himself.
Can't argue with that logic.
It's unassailable. If it means he has to bang hundreds of broads, then that's the way it has to be.
He will pay that price. He will bite that bullet for this society.
Yeah, for safety. Just make sure everything winds up correct.
Yeah. Then we got to the part where, to me, it felt like this was kind of the turning point of the fic, where before everything was kind of like poking around the world and joking around and whatever, and then it just absolutely shit got real right here. I was like, oh, okay, now we're getting into serious business. Because Carissa drops a massive truth bomb about women's lib in the Dark Ages. And it's bad. It's so bad. It is probably worse than what it was in most of the Dark Ages. And at one point, Keltham, as we're getting all this and it just things, get more and more real and less fun, Keltham does kind of like say, would the world order implode if women could move? Like, would that just end civilization as they know it, more or less? And Carissa says, probably. They deserve it, though. And like that just made me so more on her side than anything she has said so far. It was like, fuck yes. Preach it, burn it all down, fuck all this shit. And I mean, in real life, I probably wouldn't want to burn it all down because, complete chaos is just worse than what the status quo is almost always. But seriously, I felt the inflamed, self-righteous anger of, yes, they would deserve it. And fuck them all. So,
because like you said, in real life we're nice, and we can reflect on it and stuff, right? But like it's such an understandable position, to be in, right? Like
the destroy it all position.
Yeah, the vibe of like, just this is hell. Fuck it. Let's shut it down.
Yeah.
I totally get it. And then, but I liked again more of the Harry James Potter Evans Varys spirit that Kelvin comes back with here. Right?
Oh yeah, he says that other Dothalani would hesitate to say they deserve violent implosion because they are, and then he thought because they are dumb enough to count as mostly children from our perspective. And I felt a little bit bad there because fucking Eliezer again showing me the ways I should be a better person. that I should think like, yeah, these are dumb, these are naive, these people, they're more like children than anything. We shouldn't destroy all the children for doing stupid childish shit and hurting each other. So I guess thank you to Eliezer for showing me the light, despite my thirst for vengeance.
Well, it's I don't know if it's quite that simple. I mean, to put another, if we're determined to look at this in a way, to put another spin on it, that is almost an insanely insulting way to put somebody else down, right? Like
that's true.
Oh, you poor things, you don't know any better.
Yeah,
but the thing is, they totally do. They're capable of it. You know how I know that? Because we're capable of it, and we're as dumb as the whatever their planet is.
Yeah.
So like yes, we are kind of dumb, and it took us a long time to get there. And equality isn't things aren't equal yet, but we've been trending that way for a long time, and they're getting better with the occasional misstep. But like everyone who's anybody knows that things are getting better because of the increased equality that we're having, right? And so it's like, oh well, they're basically children. They don't deserve that kind of judgment because they're too dumb. And it's like, well, as one of the dumb people, even I get it, man. Like,
yeah.
But no, it is the sort of thing where
I see your point, and it is correct. But I'm trying to lean into my better angel of my nature.
No, me too. I totally agree, and I that's why I don't judge like the past harshly.
Yeah.
And that said, what's the name of their planet again?
Galarian?
That's the one. Yeah, I couldn't remember. I knew Cheliax was the country. Galarian. They're not at 21st century Earth standards.
No, not even
very
close.
Much more feels like Dark Ages.
Yes, or possibly like early post Dark Ages.
Yeah, so
maybe in some parts.
So to be right back on the train of totally agreeing with Keltham, like that's how I view the Dark Age people, right? Again, they went to cat burnings and shit, which is, as somebody who would kill all of you to protect my cat, I find abhorrent. And yet I don't blame them. They literally didn't know better, right?
Yeah.
So my first thought is like, fuck you guys, I'll set y'all on fire, see how you like it. But then it's like, okay, fine. If you guys aren't receptive to the ethics lessons, then we bust out the pitchforks. But
right.
Anyway, I like his approach that he plans out here next.
First you try ethics, then you try law.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then
so what is
all
this
fails, you throw his approach here, just throwing money at it. Like he pitches to her like, how do you think this would go if we just threw an enormous amount of money at it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe he doesn't use the word money. I think he uses resources or wealth or something, which is more appropriate because I'm thinking like, if we just made things like post scarce, but he doesn't want to explain that concept to her. So he's just like, if we gave him lots of stuff. And honestly, I like that approach a lot. I think it has real merit. And Dathalan successfully solved any society problems that they had of that nature without magic. I loved how too, Chris is trying to explain to somebody who's never heard it before of like, because Keltham's jaw-dropping moment of like, why would the women not put up with this?
Yeah, why don't they move?
Yeah.
Why don't they leave their husbands?
It's like, well, it's a long way to go somewhere. Not everyone wants them, and they don't have any money because they're not allowed to have any. And it's like, okay, if we made it impossible for them to be cold or hungry, like would this problem just solve itself? And honestly, maybe.
certainly would help a lot.
It's hard for me to, like, their husbands would try and hoard all the wealth or something, right? But if it became impossible for them to do that, then they'd be like, you know what? I don't actually need you anymore. Why would I put up with this shit? Now they're able to actually just leave.
Yeah.
So I think that might actually be his solution, at least to solving this particular problem.
Yeah.
And maybe put together a committee of people to make sure it's distributed or whatever. But it's like, yeah, let's just give them a Star Trek replicator and they'll be fine. Like,
yeah, this industrialization project suddenly became a lot more important.
Right. Yeah, he was just doing it before because it seemed like the nice and prudent thing to do. Now it's kind of like a moral imperative.
Yeah. Is a good reminder to all of us that the slowing of economic progress often has real bad results. Like, it's just one little regulation, so it makes it a little harder to find a job, but is that really that big a deal? Yeah, it prevents us from moving on to a better society, much in the same way that these women are prevented from... I think I'm overstretching this point.
No, you make a good point, because I want to counter with just the fact that, sometimes that red tape is valuable, just because all these burgeoning AIs are pumping out tons of money doesn't mean that we should keep doing it as fast as possible to keep making more money, right?
That's true. Yeah, okay.
Safety rails.
Alrighty. They're talking about what to do, how we can make this world slightly better. Carissa says, teach the bits that are teachable, and father some kids with the bits that aren't teachable, I guess. Here in Cheliax, where we know who all the smartest girls are because we trained them into wizards. I was thinking, there's only so many women that he can have like a real relationship with. And I mean, despite my modern idea of a harem and the good anime feeling version that I have of it, I think actually Keltham would do a fuck ton of good by having a literal actual harem, because women who are part of like his household in an extended family situation and bearing his children while he supports them financially and socially, probably in a much better position than 99% of the women who are stuck in houses where they're chattel, literally. Like, that life with him is going to be better for almost any woman than what they get in the majority of the country.
I agree. I wonder, like, most of what he wants to accomplish here, pass on the bits that aren't teachable genetically and teach the bits that are, he could also accomplish by being like a traveling professor slash old-fashioned sperm donor,
Well, except for the fact that in their society, if a woman gets pregnant with anything other than their husband's child, they are thrown out into the street and starved to death.
Oh, right. I was thinking about doing this in the first world countries. Or I guess whatever, the ones that don't suck, whatever you call them on Cheliax.
I think you just called them Cheliax.
I thought she said there were 6 countries where women could get loans. I'm assuming that those are the ones that don't. Like, I guess I was putting them all on the same level.
Yeah, there are 6 countries where women can get loans, but it didn't sound like all of them had the same level of respect for women's autonomy that Cheliax seems to.
Yeah, that's fair. So yeah, the traveling man whore would only be that would only work, I guess, here. But yeah, no, that I like your idea. It's the downside there, of course, is that then he'd be tied down, like, and he couldn't keep traveling around and doing all the stuff, right? If he actually like had to be physically present.
No, because like using the old school bad version of harem, he doesn't really have to be present. They'd just be in his household and taken care of. And I think that's one reason why why even the traveling man whore thing might not work in Cheliax, because once you are a woman, even unless you're in a relationship with a man who like is totally cool with you having another man's child, then you're just a single mom who somehow has to hold down a job in medieval Europe while also parenting a child, which seems much more difficult than doing it in the modern world. And literally, they just might need the financial support that he can provide in a harem situation.
I anticipate that he'll find some middle ground there where he'll get like manors or castles or whatever, fill them with I guess whatever the most beautiful, intelligent and socially beleaguered women that he can find, and pass his genetic material onto all of them, and then whatever.
That is what a harem is.
Well, but then he'll leave them just a big bucket of money and go on to the next place, right? You guys are all taken care of. You don't need to get jobs. Go on and kick ass and do your research with all all the skills and tools you have. I've got more castles to go fill with women and children.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Even better. You're right.
I think you can have it both ways.
Harem endowment thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I'm anticipating if any of this shakes out properly, he's going to be very, very rich.
Yes.
Like Elon Musk rich.
Yes.
So I think that this will be fine.
Speaking of which, instead of buying Twitter for $44 billion, Elon Musk could have funded so many harem endowments around the world and the country.
Yeah, I'm sure that every super rich person has those in the terms of, NDAs and stuff, but it's also worth just remembering that, he didn't write a check for $44 billion. They traded liquid funds and stuff, right?
Yeah,
it's all
true.
Confusing. Like net worth. Yeah. That's the thing is like net worth and how much money you have to spend are actually different things.
Right. He has 44 billion less of Tesla and 44 billion more of Twitter. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so Keltham does ask, so what are these 5 or 6 regions where women can get loans? Can we send our researchers there? Are there any regions which would coordinate with us, but whose banks don't serve women? And he's starting to assess the world political stage for allies, which I think is it's cool. It's interesting. I am all here for this.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like I can't say this is the sort of questions I'd be asking on day one because my ambitions would be much lower in scope probably.
Mm-hmm.
But I like how like the idea of planning this far ahead, right?
Yeah.
And again, on the day before, he didn't get the gist of any part of the world. And even now, he doesn't know the names of countries or whatever. He's just trying to what's the playing field look like? Mm-hmm. It's really cool because we're getting that picture too. It's all kind of cohering for me in a way that I'm appreciating.
Yeah.
She talked about wars and stuff and how there was one army that didn't go around raping and pillaging. And he's just thinking that should not be such a high bar that only one country passes it.
Yeah.
And he says, based on what you know of me, is there anywhere on this planet that I wouldn't think was a mess? And she says, I'm pretty sure you'd be upset about everywhere. And probably about a bunch of things I haven't even thought to explain yet. And just, the whole time I was reading this, I was taking notes of just I was really looking forward to this moment. And I thought it would be more kind of drawn out, but it's not disappointing at all. The dawning realization of him just again, if you came from post-scarcity Star Trek style world, and you came to Earth 100 years ago, and you were like, "Oh man, this is gonna be great." You guys all seem nice, and you look around, and you're like, "What the fuck is going on here?" Good God!
This is more than 100 years ago. This is 600 years ago, right?
Yeah, whatever. I'm just trying to, whatever
right,
works.
Right, yeah.
But then it's like, okay, well, give me something. That army that didn't rape and pillage, were they nice? And she's like, yeah, they were zombies. And his reply, I don't know what the picture was, but I imagine this deadpan of just I'll be frank with you, I was expecting to hear something surprisingly depressing, but that was a little more depressing than I was expecting.
Oh man,
he's learning proper pessimism.
Yeah.
No, all of this is great. Just again, the dawning horror of all of it. It doesn't disappoint.
Yeah, it's good. And so it sets up high stakes. This world is completely fucked, and it's on Keltham's shoulders to unfuck it. And then also he asks, my plan, a project to make the planet richer as a whole and maybe less of a giant mess. Are we going to see basic buy-in to this basic philosophy of just making the whole planet richer? And Carissa says, well, you got Asmodeus. You have whoever your god is. And I suspect you'll have more buy-in than that, but if you don't, that'll be enough. And that's 2 gods. One of them, they don't even know which god it is. That does not feel like a lot versus the entire rest of the world. But I really like it because that means this is high fucking challenge. High stakes, high challenge, lot of work to get this done. Really easy to fail at it. That is good fiction.
I agree. It's because I guess I don't know what the scale is of the gods. Imagine if Yahweh was at the Omniopolis meeting in Thor Ragnarok, right?
Yeah.
It's oh, look, this one can throw thunderbolts, and this one, can move water with his mind. It's I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So if if there's that kind of discrepant level of power between, Asmodeus and the middling gods that everyone else likes, then maybe that would be enough. But it's she's probably biased by her culture. That said, I get why the heretic police are so after her because she does a really good job explaining. And I didn't pull out the quote, but he asks all right, if I were to ask somebody from a country that doesn't like you guys, what you're not telling me, what would they say? And she gives a pretty long answer.
Yeah,
And I think it was.
I don't
I think it was
believe
probably
her.
fairly compelling. You know,
I think it was meant to be compelling to Keltham. I think she has left out a lot of things intentionally.
I think you're probably right. I guess it was nice to see that she points out some stuff. Like, there's imagine whatever, a really devout patriot during the Cold War, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he asked them, like, what do you think the Russians say about the US? Oh, they hate freedom. That's what they say.
Okay, that's fair.
Right?
But she knows that he's not a complete idiot.
Right. But the thing is like it also proves that she's not a complete idiot.
Right.
And like we knew that, but it's just nice to see, even if the answers she's giving are, sugar coated or something, she's able to think of like actual stuff. Well, we kill a lot of babies over here, and they don't like that.
Yeah.
That's probably a legit thing that they don't like them for.
Yeah.
But it showed a kind of reasonableness that again wouldn't pass the Inquisition police, but or at least would raise their hackles. So we'll see if that develops into anything.
Yeah. But speaking of not believing Carissa, I'm not sure if we should believe her regarding that it's just Asmodeus and his god. And she says maybe get more buy-in than that, but like, I don't know. Maybe there's a potential for a lot more buy-in, and she just doesn't want him going out exploring other options because she's trying to keep him in the grip of Cheliax.
Oh, yeah. I think that's probably definitely true.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing because she seems so nice.
Yeah, she's a very nice evil.
It's almost worse than bad evil. I'll have to think that through at length, but I think I'd rather have somebody that like I know is a bad person rather than somebody who's like actually genuinely nice and helpful right up until it benefits them to totally fuck me over.
At least that first one, you aren't getting like that betrayal stab.
Well, and you just know to keep them at arm's length rather than like cozy up to them.
That's the whole point of them being nice. You're more vulnerable.
Boo.
So the smarter evil people will always be nice to you. It's only the dumb evil people that you know are bad.
Alas.
Keltham seems to have a lot more faith in contracts being honored and enforced than I think anyone not from Dathalon would. Like, I think his background from a sane, functioning society is really crippling him here, because if I was in medieval Europe, I would be like, yeah, I believe you will follow this contract for exactly as long as I am holding more swords than you are.
Do you think that the first time someone says, yeah, of course I honor our contract, and then pulls it out and rips it in half, do you think the first time someone does that to him, he's going to just like stand there with his jaw dropped of like the utter blasphemy of what they've just done?
Have his Ned Stark moment when she ripped the paper in front of him.
But you can't do that. Oh, but I just did. Yeah, I think he's in for a rude awakening. At least he does have the presence of mind to ask the one random girl. She's a student at a magic school. He at least asks her, like, "Do you guys do contracts good?" Like,
I mean, he's learning fast. He's definitely less trusting by the end of this than he was at the beginning of just like this reading.
Yeah, it's great. And part of that is because he goes to the library to test out one of his truth spells, because he's like, oh, I got a spell I can cast a bunch of times. Let's try it. Hey, who wants to be a guinea pig for a thing? I don't know quite what it does yet. And there are a bunch of volunteers to be a subject for enchantment. And there's a few categories, but then the last one was, and girls who have never in their lives refused to volunteer for work at school and are pretty sure you'll go straight to hell if you ever do. And I'm like, oh, the Hermiones.
Yes. Although,
the evil ones.
I agreed with you when I read this, but now, looking at it again and seeing the word hell capitalized, maybe they actually literally are afraid that if they refuse to volunteer for work, they will go straight to hell.
Aren't they all stoked on hell? Or is that just like people who are super devout like Carissa?
That's a good point. I don't know. Although, this is Keltham saying this from his point of view, so it means it in the Hermione way, rather than, he doesn't realize that hell is both awful and a great place in their opinions.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay.
Yes. For everything that's said, I've taken in my notes to start putting to denote who's talking, but I didn't for this one, so I forgot what POV that was from. I wonder, they didn't mention that Dathalon ever had like legend of religions being a thing on that planet, right?
I would imagine, if just based on what we know of their society and the fact that the past is blocked off, I would imagine they don't have religions.
Oh, of course.
They don't know about them.
With no past, I forgot about that. Yeah, so everything he learned about hell he learned yesterday, but it still sounds like the bad place. So
yes.
All right.
So he has this now truth-spelled volunteer, and one of the first things he asks her to do when he realizes it's probably a truth spell is say 2 + 2 = 4 and 2 + 2 = 5. And then she says 2 + 2 = 4, and then she says, when she can't say 2 + 2 = 5, eventually gets out 2 + 2 might sometimes equal 5 somewhere. under the truth spell, and we get an empty tag react for that from Keltham, which I thought was absolutely great.
And then he asks her to clarify, and she gives like, a longer answer of like, magic's weird. I don't know, man. And he's just like, one of us is very deeply confused, and I wish to eternity that I was sure it was you. He's like, fuck, I hope you're the crazy one and it's not me.
Yep. So when he's thinking about truth-telling spells, when he realizes they're truth-telling spells in this world, he's like, wow, they're known. They should be incredibly useful. If they're first circle cleric spells, they should be in first circle cleric books. And he did not see any in the first circle cleric book that he saw earlier. This whole planet does not look like a whole planet should if it is very easy for people on that whole planet to trust each other. Even if it requires paying a cleric, it should have a huge effect. Those are many darn good points, all thought in a row by him. And now this Ratfic has to figure out how a world in which this is the case, because in Pathfinder, there are truth-telling spells in first circle cleric books, yet it does not look how you would think a world would look if people could trust each other. Now the Ratfic has to find out how this world can exist and make sense.
I like how he notices that he's confused, but I think it's just that he's not properly cynical yet.
Yeah.
This isn't in the books because everyone knows that those things are easy to bypass, right? Of course. So that's why we don't, have, that's why, we don't have them on government officials, have these spells on government officials during important meetings, because everyone knows they can be faked. Everyone knows they're bullshit. That's going to be the public propaganda. So I think that the idea that there's probably like just deep societal lies that are told on purpose is probably still something he's not quite clicking for him yet.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I assume that's it. It's a misinformation campaign about like, well, and the thing is it is technically passable, like we saw. It like they get around it in this reading.
Oh yes, although with a lot of magic shenanigans. Right,
but as long as it's possible, if you're a king and queen from different countries going to negotiate, having this spell on you is worth fuck all because you both know that the other ones could be, moving a mountain to circumvent the truth spell.
Yeah.
So, but that said, two, people working at a regular business trying to coordinate a contract, it seems like worth doing, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah. I think that in order to sell the lie that this doesn't really do that much, they probably just people don't trust it. Kind of like how not everyone used Veritaserum in Harry Potter. And it's like, it's not because it didn't work. It did, but it didn't work under some very specific circumstances, like if you have perfect occlumens or something, or at least a good one. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, well, then, it's like a lie detector that only works most of the time.
Yeah.
So like putting a ton of weight on it doesn't really do anything. And if you tell me that it works on you, that doesn't mean anything to me either.
Yes.
I loved all of this. He's fine. There's just a lot of like, I think you pull this out as he's climbing the ladder of paranoia here. I let you have all these, because I had them too, but I left your notes in for all these in a row here.
Okay, cool. Okay, so yeah, shall we go through the various rungs of the ladder of paranoia?
Let's do it.
Before he gets on the ladder, he asks if it's okay if he asks one or two questions about the situation. Truth Serum Girl says, yes, of course. He asked far more than one or two questions. I counted at least 8, and there's several that we don't hear specifically.
In his defense, the questions, he thought he was going to get straight, simple answers. But every question just begot more questions.
I think he should have been able to... First of all, he should have been able to foresee that. And second of all, once he got past like the third question, he should have said, I'm sorry, I have a lot more. Is it okay if we keep going?
Right. Or he could have opened with like, how about I ask you questions till I get tired, or you opt out, no hard feelings.
Yeah.
That's a standard thing in most consent forms with any sort of study or interrogation like this, right?
Yep.
I do harmless long form, questionnaires for like the twin study thing that I'll do. And even they say on every one, after 30 years still, it's like if at any point you want to quit, you can. And it's like, great, I know, thanks. I won't get annoyed about being asked whatever random questions though, right? But you put that on the standard disclaimer. Maybe he knew that it was implied, like because they don't waste ink with that very standard disclaimer on their studies on Dafalon.
Yeah, but it's specifically not implied in this situation. In fact, the opposite is implied. If she were to say, I'd like to stop answering questions now, he would immediately draw the conclusion, I just asked some shit she doesn't want to answer. There's bad answers there. And she knows that he would think that, and so like she can't ever stop.
She knows because he told him, or because he told her, which is nice of him. You know, he because he's just being honest. He's like, I wish I could promise that I won't update on anything you refuse, but realistically, I can't actually promise that.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, the second you say I refuse to answer that question, it's like, okay, well, that's because it's a bad answer, isn't it?
Honestly, I wish you would have been like on the fourth question and say, hey, this is the fourth question, just so you know, to call him out on it a bit. But I think they're in a society where if her doing that would have probably gotten her torture if it was anyone in her society that was higher status than her. So there's no way in fuck she's going to do that. And he doesn't know this about their society yet.
Yeah. I feel where you're coming from, but I still give him a pass. Like, he's finally got something like a reliable source of information.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to just kind of keep pushing.
I feel almost like this is the split that you must have felt yesterday when I was like, no, I wouldn't say please and thank you to a servant. I'd be like, go get me my dinner. And now I'm like, wait, what do you mean he didn't apologize after the third question? He obviously should have. And you're like, whatever, he's on a roll.
Well, this is an evil society, you know?
Yeah.
She could have pointed out at any time. She's like, you said one or two.
Yeah.
She could have done that after answering a question before he asked another one. But people just taking advantage of other people is probably something that happens here all the time. So,
yeah, totally.
Oh man! All right, so
he asks her a bunch of questions, and I just kind of, instead of having the whole questions because they're very long and genie oriented, and her answers are just as bad, I have distilled them to their essences. The first thing Keltham asks is like, "Hey, y'all been roughly honest with me?" And she says, "Yeah, basically." And at this point, Elias Abarco, apparently is the name of one of the spying wizards that is invisible and mind-reading, says he has a problem. The problem is that Keltham is presumably thinking he'll use detect magic to check whether his enchantment is still in place, and he's gonna, and that would work, except Elias Abarco is going to cast some illusions, but what he really needs is a greater magic aura spell. And there's got to be a scroll in it somewhere, because otherwise Keltham is going to know that they fucked around and she was lying to him the whole time, and they don't want that. They need this greater magic aura. Elias Abarco vanishes. This is noticeable to about half the assembled persons, but they all have good poker faces. And to me, that was like really good. I was feeling some tension because, first of all, there's time pressure. The guy needs to go get the stuff before Keltham answers all his questions. We don't know if he's gonna. And more importantly, like, regardless of how this resolves in the end, like lots of times, if there's going to be a conflict, you can somehow guess that it's not going to lead to the hero dying, right? But in this case, no matter how it resolves, no one's going to die, and the story's going to take two drastically different turns, whether he is successfully deceived or not. So I'm actually really unsure which way it's going to go and interested in seeing the answer. So I was hyped for this.
Strong agreement. This was riveting. It's just one line, but it's important. The fact that he does this is noticeable to about half the assembled persons, but they all have good poker faces. Mm-hmm. You know, if they're all about his age, they're all teenagers. And yet they're all so used to this level of shit that they don't blink. This really is like the Slytherin common room. Mm-hmm. It'd be fun if that's what you want to do, but if you don't know you're playing that game, it's going to be a drag. That said, one of his spells, one of them is Detect Aura. So he didn't cast it. I don't think he knows that he has it, per se. But at some point, he's going to be like, okay, I've got Aura Sight. I'm going to use that next time because I read about scrolls that can do convoluted stuff. Assuming scrolls work like they do in video games, scrolls let you cast magic that you can't actually cast, but it uses up the scroll.
Aura Sight. I want to look up what Aura Sight is now.
I just assumed this guy... He wants a spell of greater magic aura. If Aura Sight doesn't let you notice that, I'm going to be disappointed in the name of it.
This spell makes your eyes glow and allows you to see alignment auras within 120 feet of you. Oh. The effect is similar to that of Detect Chaos, Evil, Good Law spells, but Aura Sight does not require concentration, and it discerns an aura's location and power more quickly. Okay, so it's for knowing alignments, not for that thing.
Gotcha. Well, there's Glimpse of Truth and Spell Immunity. Those might help. And Invisibility Purge might be, strong enough to knock these people out, right?
Yeah. I can't wait until he learns more of his spells.
And this is just the stuff he gets on day one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is awesome.
His god really did know what he was doing.
If only his god could throw a book at him. Right?
I know.
Like, here's the book of all the stuff you actually have. Don't let those morons lie to you.
Mm-hmm.
But, this is probably not even lunchtime yet. He's still got the rest of his second day here to learn that they're trying to fuck him over, so...
He's probably still waiting on his breakfast.
No, he had that very remarkable breakfast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thankfully. Question 2. Is the government concealing anything major from me? Nah, bro, you're good.
That was great. And it was halfway through that question that I think she had the truth spell purged from her. His third question, can I trust agreements I signed with Cheliax? She says totes. He has this interesting thought. They don't actually know how to be lawful. That much is obvious at a glance. So that prompts him to ask question number 4. Do I gotta assume, genie level devil lawyer tricks here? She says, yeah, we're basically pretty chill here. It's in the name even, which I put in there because I asked on the Discord, how do you pronounce Cheliax? And apparently it's Cheliax, so they're pretty chill. While we're on the topic of pronunciations, if anybody knows if it's Asmodeus or Asmodeus or some third other option, please let us know.
Or don't, and enjoy us torturing the pronunciation in a variety of ways every week. I can't find exactly when the guy shows back up. Like at the end, it's a paragraph from him again saying how awesome he is that I pulled out. But when
we find out at the very end, yeah, to keep the tension going as long as possible.
Yeah, it doesn't say when he got to use the scroll though. But he was in and out in 3 minutes, so it wasn't at the end of his long line of questioning. That's for sure.
He dispelled the truth spell and put up an illusion before the part we read where he says that he has a problem. Because in his very first question, she stalls for a bit, and then we hear, that should be enough time for an illusion and a dispel. And then she says something which is more directly dishonest, and it comes out just fine. And right after she says that, that's where it says, Elias Abarco has a problem. Because he has cast the dispel and the illusion, and now he knows what Kelpham's counter is going to be afterwards, and he knows how to counter the counter, but he can't do it from where he's standing, and that's why there's a problem.
Gotcha. I thought that he couldn't cast the disillusionment or whatever until he got back. But no, you're right. I think that he thwarted the truth serum, and then he's like, all right, now I got to cover up the fact that we thwarted that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Man, this is great. Everyone's trying to just speed chess each other here.
Yeah.
Which Keltham doesn't even know that he only suspects he's playing chess, but he doesn't know the rules.
Yes.
I liked his question 5 is one of my favorites. What should I have asked? That's one of my favorite questions. I try to use that frequently in real life too. We do that whenever we interview somebody on the podcast.
We usually do, yes. Sometimes we forget.
It's a good one of just like, hey, what should people ask you about? Oh, I'm glad you asked. Man, I wonder if she'd been compelled to give a real answer to that question. He even asks, like, how high does like the counter spell ladder go?
Her answer when he says, what should I ask you, is what's with the queen? Or who can I trust? So his question number 6 is what's with the queen? And then he asks, how would you defeat the truth spells? Yeah. And her answer was, I don't know what's up with the queen. I've never met her. Here's some history that I've learned. And then, for how do you defeat the truth spells, we get the counter things. And his 8th question is, teach me how to win at counter.
I liked how, then he says, tell me that you haven't left out any obvious other tactics I could use. She says, I haven't left out any other obvious tactics that you could use. I don't think that's a lie, even if she was still compelled to tell the truth. He just said, tell me that.
Oh my God, you're right. He said, tell me. She literally just repeats those words back to him.
Yeah.
Oh, that is fantastic.
I think that would be one way, if she was still actually under truth compulsion, that she could have said the same thing.
Yeah.
He didn't say, have you? Question mark?
Yes. Oh, that was a great catch on your part. Awesome.
I liked Elias Abarco tucks a used scroll neatly away in the pocket dimension he's wearing as a belt and surveys the girls to see who is impressed enough by his ability to find a scroll of greater magic aura in a magic shop in Absalom in under 3 minutes, including both teleports, getting back with a minute to spare, seeing who's impressed enough with that they might fuck him while Keltham's delaying for sperm negotiation reasons. He's
that is cool.
Slithering through and through.
Yep. They get through that and Keltham stays deceived.
For now. I looked up cantrip, and it's old school, I think Irish for magic.
Oh, okay. Cantrips are very, very low-level spells that considered like level 0 spells that do almost nothing.
And what's it mean to catch?
I don't know, but it sounds like they say they need a haste to make it work. So I guess if you roll a dexterity check or something, you don't count as having lost your spell because it's that simple. Like there's no other spell where you get it back immediately upon casting, no matter what you roll. As far as I know, where it sounds like in Pathfinder, if you cast a cantrip, you can roll a quick check, and if you pass, you get the spell back.
Oh, okay.
They're just that simple and useless.
That makes sense, though, and that would explain why like everyone has detect magic. And it's like, no, man, I'm going to the library today. I don't need detect magic. I need all my reading spells.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if it's a free slot and it's a free action, then yeah, go nuts. and they're happy to demonstrate it. And some can do it while talking, someone standing on one foot. Two of them demonstrate that they can do it while kissing each other, which it's a safe bet that lesbian porn would be a universal among hominids. But it's kind of fun that's something that they would consider, and they're probably straight on with that one, right?
Hell yeah.
He does ask her at the end, was everything you said the truth?
She says, everything I said so far was the truth, shakily. I did like this a lot, how Eliezer and Kelsey were just throwing back and forth to each other. Like, he comes up with a question, she comes up with an answer. It was really fun watching that. And it had to be so much fun to fucking write it, because you don't know what the other person's going to, like, she doesn't know what Eliezer's about to ask next, and he doesn't know what her reply is going to be, and they just playing off each other. A lot more fun than, I mean, you could write all this just as a single person. It would still be a lot of fun, but significantly more fun when there's another person you're playing with. Yeah,
I totally agree. And I guess I don't know how accurate these timestamps are. Some of them, they reply within 2 minutes. Granted, in real life, you don't even have 2 minutes, but in writing, you have all the time in the world. But they don't. They're trying to play this back and forth with each other as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't write this paragraph in 3 minutes, even if I was just transcribing it. So Kelsey's thinking of it and typing it at the same time.
I'd have to just be the funnest afternoon ever, man.
Yeah. I bet it was fun for them to do, and it was fun for us to read, so...
And speaking of the glowfic format, Eliezer writes during his tag, Keltham turns back to the truth spell subject and says, try saying out loud, this sentence is false. He is, at this point, concentrating on keeping his spell going. Greater detect magic requires concentration to keep going. He gives her that order while he's concentrating to keep the spell going. Eliezer ends the tag with, did he manage to maintain concentration during that? And Kelsey replies, he's still holding on to his magic detection. Which is really cool. It's literally a direct query to the DM. Hey, did this work? Did my skill check pass? And obviously the DM is not rolling the dice in this case. She's just deciding that, yeah, it'll be cool for the story if he passes the skill check. This whole working with two authors and asking the other one how the results of an action go. Really cool.
Yeah. Like last week, it was like, I open a random book. What does it say? And she's just like, oh, I'm glad you asked. I've got tons of lore just sitting in my brain. Let's do this. And that also opens up the opportunity for him, too, to be told, nope, it didn't. Try something else. That plan failed.
Yeah.
It's like it does keep them on their feet. This is so cool.
Yeah. We get a few more questions without consequence, and then the final question he asks her is on a scale of way too little to way too much. Would you say that I'm currently being more suspicious than is appropriate for Galarian in general, and Cheliax in particular, or not suspicious enough? And her answer is that depends on what you're doing.
Which is such a non-answer.
Yeah. I just put it in there for completeness since we covered so many other questions.
Oh, no, totally. Hey, am I being paranoid enough? And frankly, the answer is always no, right? Well, no, it's possible, life, no. Yeah, that you could be spending way too much energy being paranoid. Yeah. But it's like, with the level of, again, you just heard about 7-dimensional chess that we play against each other. No, man, not even close.
Yeah. But I mean, he doesn't know about the 7-dimensional chess that's being played. He only knew about 2 of the dimensions.
Well, because when he asks her about counter moves, she's already able to lie.
Yeah.
Carissa goes to go do something.
Yeah, she runs off to check with her handlers. What's going on? What do we say? What do we do? How do we continue to massage the situation? She is told that Contessa Lurlatha?
I was going to try, but I think I would stumble. I can't do it. Let's say Lilatra.
Contessa L.
Yeah, Contessa's fine. It's a sick name, yeah. Or Contessa L, whatever works.
So she's told that Contessa L is showing up here. She says, fuck. That's the devil provided personally by Asmodeus to the queen as an advisor. So we're about to see something cool coming up in the next reading.
Yeah, personal devil.
Yes.
The other thing that Krista did, though, she noticed that the symbol on Truth Serum Girl's forehead when he cast the spell was Abadar's.
Yeah.
And so
she knows what god he's prayed to.
I love how she's playing it in the middle, though. Because she's like, I'm not going to tell him.
Yeah.
But
she says, that thing looks familiar. We should research it.
Yeah, which means we're going to go find the answer. I guess because when he does eventually figure it out, it's not going to be plausible that she couldn't have known.
Right.
And so she's playing, ahead for that move.
Yeah, like at some point he's going to find out that what that symbol was and that she saw it, and he's going to be like, what the fuck, why didn't you tell me? And at this point she can say, I did, I just didn't recognize it exactly, and this leaves her option open to check in with the handlers and be like, yo, are you getting rid of all the books that have the symbol in them so that he can't find out?
And are you planning on finding all the rest of them on the planet and destroying those too, just in case?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is where I think that things are going to turn. That's why this was a great cliffhanger. While waiting for Carissa to come back, Keltham tries to dismiss his own truth spell. He tries not to give any outward sign. Maybe if they can cast an illusion, but the real truth compulsion is a kind of spell they can dispel at will. The hypothetical illusion casters won't know how to remove their illusion, or won't know when, right?
Yeah.
And so he goes to go vanish it, or to dispel it, and it doesn't vanish.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, another data point. I'll check back on that. Because that
was very smart.
Yeah, right? And that actually might be conclusive proof for him once he learns, like, he can just cast this again on, because he got 3 more casts of this today.
Oh, shit, that's a good point.
So he like, hey, Carissa, hold still for a second. Cast, uncast, and watch it disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Then he's like, aha, I caught you guys.
Yep. He's like, there's fuckery. I cannot trust a single answer that I got.
Man, this is great.
But he does end it with saying that he's like going around looking for all the tiny little signs of deception he can find now. And he's saying the trouble is, if you go looking for enough tiny signs like that, you will eventually find some, whether they exist or not. Which was also our ending line. So great choice, Asku and Keiko and all the rest of you guys. But yeah, I think that's a great ending note. And it's also always important to remember that in real life, that if you get too suspicious and start looking for every little thing, you might find stuff that that isn't even really a big deal. It's not a thing. You're seeing what you want to find.
I mean, yeah, it's true. The thing that sucks here though is that it's not paranoia if they really are out to get you.
That's true.
And so he's in this terrible spot where it's like, man, I'm aware of the trap I'm setting myself up to fall into, that if I go looking for signs of deception, I'm gonna find them. And yet, so he's then when he does find them, he's gonna have to wonder, like, okay, are these real signs of deception, or are they ones that I tricked myself into finding?
Yeah.
And, oh no, they're real
the
ones.
mind games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh man,
I'm looking forward to this.
Me too.
All right. So speaking of what we're looking forward to, the target phrase to stop at for section 5 for people who aren't just going to the awesome link that gives you the entire next section in a single HTML. The target is he needs to not talk about that during lunch and would like something like 10 minutes to himself before he talks about anything at all. I have also been told to forewarn the audience that this is going to be a longer section, and forewarn you, I guess. This is going to be a longer section than the previous ones we've gotten, because at this point they get into some actual decision theory lectures, and they didn't want to stop like right in the middle of a lecture, so they extended it for a bit to get to the end of it. Cool.
No, I appreciate not breaking it up that way. And what's fun is I hope that this is lunch of the same day.
That would be really cool.
And so right after breakfast, he went through like, this 5-dimensional chess game with grand wizards and high-level spell scrolls. And like before lunch, he's going through all this crap. And
he's probably going to talk to the queen's personal devil.
If he's not talking to the queen or her devil by dinner, I think the day will be a failure for him.
That's true.
All right. Well, great, man. This was fun.
I guess I should say support us on Patreon.
The community is helping support, keeping us on track for this, giving us the reading notes. Big, again, special shout out to Keiko Lukiam. Kako Lukiam. Both of them work. He spelled them out for me because he's awesome, for putting these together. And if we feel like making this a little bit more of a proper project, then this HTML viewer will be a great source of reading this book. Man, I delivered that really well. I'm not going to do it again. We're calling it.
Okay.
All right, man. Thanks.
Yep. See ya.